Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Alatorre, this is Lydon with Limestone College giving you my informative speech. Hi everybody, I'm Lydon, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about something that you may or may not know about, which is the history of the designated hitter in Major League Baseball. The designated hitter, which is also called the DH, first we're going to talk about what it actually is, and then we're going to tell you how it came about and some of the prominent players in it today. The designated hitter, the first idea of it came back in 1906 from the then Philadelphia Athletics manager Connie Mack. He thought of it as an idea which would excite the game to everybody else because you would see a hitter, a person who's designated to hit in the place of the pitcher, so they offensively just specialize in hitting, which would attract more audiences and make the game more exciting because of the offensive production that it's using. So what the designated hitter actually is it's only in the American League, not in the National League for baseball. The American League is the only one that follows it. Now, the manager can choose to use a designated hitter or not use a designated hitter, which they actually are just what it is. They're a designated person to hit instead of the pitcher, because the pitcher traditionally is known as not really a good hitter in the lineup. So you put a designated hitter in there who specializes in hitting to hit in his place. So you can only use a designated hitter in the pitcher's area, and you can choose to ignore that rule. Now, when an American League team plays a National League team, you go by whichever home ballpark you're at. So if you're at the National League team's ballpark, then there is no DH. But if you're at the American League team's ballpark, then you are allowed to use a DH, and you can choose to not use one if so. Now, some of the most prominent hitters in Major League Baseball today are designated hitters. David Ortiz, Frank Thomas, and Jason Giambi, just to name a few. Now, each of them used to play defensive positions in their respective right, but as they've gotten older and their bodies started to hurt more, they became more specialized in hitting, and that's what coaches wanted to use them as. So by only hitting and not playing the field, they were able to keep their bodies in better shape. So to get back to the history, 1906 the idea came about, but nobody ever used it until 60 years later. In 1968, the game was dominated by pitching of Bob Gibson, who had a 1.12 ERA, which is extremely low, as well as the best hitter in the league only hit 300, which is extremely low by today's standards. So Major League Baseball, to make the game more offensively exciting, decided that first they were going to hinder the pitchers by lowering the mound from 15 to 10 inches, giving the hitters a better look at the baseball. Also, the strike zone was from the top of the shoulders to the bottom of the knees, and they lowered it from the letters as the top of the strikes and the letters of the batter's jersey to the knees, giving the hitters more of an advantage. Now, they were already starting to think of offensively minded things, so in 1969, for 2 days, they had two teams use a DH just to see what it would do and the effect that it would have on everybody. The two teams kind of liked it, but didn't really see it enough to follow through with it for the next years. But in 1973, the general manager, Charles O'Finley of the Oakland Athletics, was able to convince the American League to vote on and keep the designated hitter for a 3-year trial period, which then at that time was called the DPH, not the DH, the designated pinch hitter, which was designated pinch hitter in place of the pitcher, who still followed the rules we do today. The National League, however, still did not want to use the designated hitter, so they chose not to, while the American League did. Now, after those 3 years, the numbers of the American League hitters went up, and so did also the attendance, because people love to see more home runs and more hitting, because traditionally the pitcher's not as good of a hitter. And so you have the DH in there, so you have 9 full hitters that can hit home runs and do the exciting things for the crowd and make the game more interesting, rather than 8 like there is in the National League, so-called theoretically only 8 hitters because the pitcher's not as good as a hitter. So the designated hitter, after that 3-year period, is still in use today, because it's worked out so well for that 3-year period. It's been called the DH, and the same rules apply. I hope that this speech informs you better of what the designator is and what it came from and why it came about. Thank you.